Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another installment of the MRL Fastlane, looking at Sunday and Monday lights. So, to kind of start off everything with just the usual stuff, Sunday and Monday followed the Cup schedule. So we are at Charlotte. It is a 100-lap race for both events. Now, both races turned out very differently. One is because we had cautions on Sunday and no cautions on Monday. Now, and I say that, now you're probably expecting, oh, cautions. Oh, I'm sure it's probably like one here and then like maybe like 10 laps later, one here, and then maybe a 20-lap one later here. There was a span of like 4 or 5 cautions in a span of like 20 laps. It was bizarre, but because of that, it actually impacted the race because when the final stint of green flag racing came, it was like 28 to go. So because of that, fuel save was the key. So to kind of look at the beginning part of this here, we're looking at the lineup for Sunday. That is T-Bird being on pole, Liam, and then Raceworks. That is a brand new name. Raceworks is a guy that I've raced with personally for quite some time now, and he is making his first foray into the MRL scene. And because of that, he is starting in P3. So because of that, all the ones I'm clicking on right now are drivers that did indeed race. So it is insane to look at all of these guys. The top 12 out of the 15 drivers are the ones that actually race. They're all points earners. The other 3 are ones that race on Monday, and that is Loho, Heron, and Baseball Kid. We had 15 drivers on Sunday, and because of that, it was a big deal for the Sunday drivers because an overwhelming majority of the drivers are actually for points. So because of that, it was crucial to see who would do it. So to kind of just look you at the starting order right now, just like I said. To kind of look at the difference in Sunday and Monday, and to kind of branch out and do something a little different. Basically, I'm going to leave it up to you guys. If you want to watch the race, it's literally right here. Go ahead and watch it. I feel like I've been kind of recapping the race a little bit too much, so because of that, I'm looking at basically the first few laps, and then we're going to kind of skip to the caution part. So to kind of look at the first 50 laps were clean and green, and just to kind of show you just how important that was, this first lap was very important right there. So because of that, yeah, that little hiccup right there in the bouncing off the apron. It happens. I mean, it's racing. But because of that, it really separated the field. And the 0, the 08 was the big one. The 61 totally just bashed the 0. And because of that, the 0 is now up in there. The 07, the little Chris, is coming up here. He had a good run last night in the Saturday series, the Cup series. But because now you have the 21 at T-Bird, the teammates of the Chaos Crew, 1 and 2 right now. So we're going to kind of skip on ahead here. It should be right around here. So, oh, actually, I lied. Right here. So that was in the middle of that. But yeah, so the cautions first happened, and it was during pit stops. So because of that, we have a string of cautions leading from like lap 50 all the way back to like right here. So it was a solid like 10-minute period, equaling about 20 laps. That was the final caution right there. So because of that, everything after that was clean and green, and everything had to get into a nice, evenly fashion because these guys are looking at... I mean, we have to start fuel saving. It is 28 laps to go at this point, and all of these guys... there are some that are going to try to make it, and there are going to be some that just ignore it. That you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to take my gamble right here. I know I can't save it. I'm going to run it out as if I cannot make it. So kind of looking at those right now, you're going to see those that have already tried and are currently saving. The 15 and the 07 are not even trying, so they're going to be pitting here. The 78, the 54, but the 18 pivotally back here is right there. He's that black spot right there, almost out of the draft, is hardcore saving. So because of that, we're looking at pit stops starting to happen. There are those that just like I said, I cannot make it all the way. I'm going to just pit, and wherever I finish, I finish. So you have the 98 of Heron, as Baseball Kid is the first one to DNF. Unfortunate from him, but the rest of the field right here, these guys, the front pack, the front 7, are the ones that are going to be looking for a yellow to kind of save them. We have more pit stops happening throughout this. In the back of the pack, mostly. So everyone in the top 4 has kind of not really have kind of shuffling position right now. The 18 has basically been given the green light. He is good to go. So he was in the back of this pack. Now he's moving forward. But in the back of the pack, mainly, you have those that are starting to stop, and there are those that have already stopped. So we're going to see exactly what happens here. It is now do or die right now. So there goes the 07 who have pit the lap before. And going on through the rest of the race, we're coming up on P6. Yes, the entire top 6 has gone down a lap. So there are those, like I said, that have made it, and there are those that have not. Coming into the final turn, the 18 is sputtering, but he won. Now, pivotally, back here, the 78 of Liam, who was P3 going on through, is out of fuel. He is struggling coming to the line. He is out. And look at this, to the line, the 4 and the 98 of BS getting past. So, strategy was a huge factor, and because of that, Xander, UK, MH with another podium. Excellent job. He was one of those that just, him and BS just like, you know what, screw it, we're just going to go for it. Basically pit with 4 tires, like halfway throughout the run, just said screw it, and there we go. He got a P3 and P4. Liam, P5 to complete the top 5. Story Square, who was in the pack of the pack, got kind of screwed over in the beginning part of the run. An excellent job to get back into the top 10. He is one to watch, having a good run at Bristol as well. Low Chris, P7. Justin Shack, who was the points leader going into this race, finishing P8. Huge shift to talk about there. T-Bird, P9. Keith, P10. To kind of run out the rest of the the board, Hunty, crucially, P11, Loho, P12, and then Heron, Raceworks, and Baseball Kid back here, kind of looking at the points as it stands. Very eerily similar to the Cup standings, except in terms of the difference between those two. It's really weird how that works out sometimes. But Xander, with that win, 2 wins to the season now, 15 points to the good over UK. Justin Shackett falls to P3, 28 points back. Hunty drops to P4, 40 points back. However, we're going to Watkins Glen. Again, much like what I was talking about in the Fastlane with Cup, these guys, mainly Xander and Hunty, are one of the best at road courses. Liam is also really good at road courses, and T-Bird's really good at road courses. What can they do at Watkins Glen? We're going to talk about that here in a second. Yeah, so huge implications here for the Sunday series. To kind of shift gears now, looking at the Monday series now. Monday, Cyber had the pole. So as you can see right here, Cyber had another pole. Nathan, Agent Orange, completing the front row. However, we had to kind of skip down to Pied Piper to actually start P3. Broadcaster Clay, P4. Loho, P5. And because of that, we have to skip down a little bit more. Heron, P6. BD, P7. And then skip down another bit right here to, I think it was Ty Racing. Ty Racing, yes, a brand new name to the scene. He did not have the best of days. However, in a no caution race, this was his first race, so he just has to get his feet wet. But because of that, an excellent race nonetheless. There's going to be 12 drivers that did race, and because of that, 9 of those are actually for Monday points. So, crucially here, we have a big implication for the points here as well. So to kind of look on out, caution free this entire race was. And again, if you want to watch it in its entirety, it's right here. And of course we have different drivers POVs from Piper as well as Nathan Agent Orange right here. So to kind of briefly summarize the race, it was all about just hitting your marks every about like 25 to 26 laps. And because of that, make as few mistakes as possible. Because of that, and you can see, if you can stay with the pack, you'll be fine. Kalen also had made his reappearance in the Monday series. Of course, he is now driving in Cup for next season, but he decided to come on down to the lights for his first foray in the the fun season. So it was all about just maintaining a draft. Nathan and Cyber, big shout out to Nathan for our in-race reporter, and Liam for our in-race reporting on Sunday as well. Thank you guys so much. But yeah, like I said, it's all about just maintaining a nice even pace. Lil Carissa, who did race in all 3, good race results from him as well. Going to be looking down low of Xander, besides the back on out of it, not quite up to what he was expecting. Again, it was just a matter of just really just maintaining your own pace, and as well as just making as few mistakes as possible. Because of that, Nathan started to fall off a little bit, and as we can see later on in the race, we have... Well, he now goes into the clutches of P4 and P5. So what can happen here, especially as we look into... the rest of the race? Well, actually, I'm going to kind of look and tell you right now, Cyber actually was able to go and lead almost every lap. The only lap that he didn't lead was from when the 18 of Xander or Lil Chris were to take it during green flag pit stops. But since Chris is not racing for points, essentially he's not credited with that lap led. So really there's only 2 technical leaders, and either that, Xander's not even for points anyway. So crucially, Cyber had max points the entire way. But because of that, as we look through the rest of the top 10 and then into the top 12, we have the points for Monday being shifted. Cyber's now into P4. Technically he can still snag the point lead, but with 3 races left, it's going to take a huge shift. But we're going to be talking about why that's going to be huge here in just a second. Big shake-up here. P5 through 8 right here. Very close as well, mainly 6 through 8. So these guys are definitely looking on out. But Broadcaster Clay and NASCAR Extreme, these are teammates here. Definitely close. So, what does this all mean, essentially? Well, I'll tell you what this all means. Let's start with Monday. Monday, the huge implications for this race as well. Hunty and Justin Shackett both finishing in P8 and P11. Very unlike their stat sheets have had previously. Very solid, very solid. Shackett, of course, had probably the better of the two. Of course, it was top 5 or just borderline top 5. And then, of course, Hunty was basically the same thing, but then they had a huge dip right there, and that honestly could just be from well, I mean, obviously it is from a bad strategy call, but because of that, you have those like MH who really capitalize on it. Where is he? Right here. P10, P11 to a podium. It's a difference in strategy all around, honestly. But because of that, you have those that are the biggest winners and biggest losers? I would have to say the biggest winners are probably MH and BS. Of course, getting P3 and P4 respectively. Excellent job. BS right here. Where is he? Right here. 8, 12, 8 to a P4. Huge gain. And because of that, his points show that as well. Being only 89 now, technically he's in spitting distance of a top 5 in points. MH, of course, missed the race, but he now is within a huge battle between T-Bird, Chris, and MH. 2 points separate those 3 positions. Huge implications for just finishing P3 and P4. And that's why I love season-long points like this. It's just little shakeups like that. Meanwhile, you have Xander and UK up here, who were 10 points apart going into this race, and they essentially only gapped themselves 5 points. But that's because they minimized their mistakes and realized that, you know what, I'm just going to feel safe and just stay out of trouble, finishing P1 and P2 respectively. They're doing exactly what they need to do. Of course, Xander's doing it slightly better, but there is still a lot of time left on the board. We have Watkins Glen, Vegas, and Homestead. Now, I think Xander, if we're just looking at these 2 respectively, Xander is going to have the better of the 2 in Watkins Glen and Homestead. I feel UK is going to have the better of it in Las Vegas, and that is because Las Vegas is notorious for tire wear when it comes to the Xfinity cars. We have seen on Atlanta with tire wear right here for that to be a huge impact. We have right here Xander P5, okay, and then UK P3. Now, I know that may not seem like a huge thing when it comes to Atlanta, but when in regards to tire saving in Atlanta, UK had the better strategy. And of course, this was slightly skewed because of that late race caution, but the results still stand. P3, P5. So, because of that, Xander, though, looking to go 3 in a row at Watkins Glen. I think he can definitely do it, but he will definitely have to look out for Hunty. But we'll have to see on Sunday. Meanwhile, on the Monday side of things, like I said, we have some huge games being played. Of course, this was a long race, caution-free. It showed pace, it showed patience, it showed strategy, as well as autonomy when it comes to making sure you hit your own marks. So, Cyber had the best performance out of everyone. A very Cyber-like, something that we've seen, or I guess haven't seen, in quite some time, except when early in the days of Season 0 Cup, where he was on the podium for almost, it seemed like half the season. But he is back on the top of the board now, and because of that, he gains 4 positions in so doing. But to kind of look at his previous standings, it's been, like I said, very un-Cyber-like. A P14 at Dega, and that's because he fell out of the draft. P5, P7, yeah, top 5s, nothing special, but then back into P1. Cyber is a fantastic driver. His one-lap pace shows it. He has 3 poles, but just the results just haven't been there this light season, and he's slightly getting it together now. But then you have Nathan, who has yet to finish outside the top 5. Now, Watkins Glen, road courses have been his bane. Mid-Ohio and the Charlotte Roval, yes, were like top 5 performances last season, but in a bigger field and also a more competitive field now, will top 5s do it? I don't know, because I would have to say going into Monday, unless like someone from Sunday comes on down, like Hunty. I know, well, Hunty's already doing it. He has confirmed that he is racing. Xander possibly is racing. I'm not 100% on Monday for Xander, but Cyber, if none of those were to hypothetically show up, Cyber is the hands-down favorite for Monday. because of that, it's huge. It's a huge shift in terms of points, because let's just say Nathan gets a P5 and then Cyber wins. I'm just giving that as just an example. Barring, of course, Nathan leads a lap or not. That means at most Nathan is losing 20 points to Cyber, and because of that, essentially this gap is now halved. So in one race we can potentially have this point deficit. I'm not putting pressure on Nathan, but don't let this gap kind of lead you into a false sense of security. This can drop in an instant, but at the same time, Nathan has been in this position before. He was exactly in this position last season with Packers. Packers having a more long-run approach. It worked to his benefit at like Mid-Ohio, as well as the Charlotte Roval. But ultimately, though, it seems like Nathan kind of thrives in the pressure, knowing exactly what he needs to do, and he does it. Now, to kind of shift on down right here, Piper's having a fantastic season. The stats, it doesn't seem to be like that right now, but he's enough to have P3 in points. Very solid. I mean, yet to finish outside the top 10. Excellent job so far. Piper, just if he can just mind his P's and Q's at Watkins Glen, he will be fantastic. Oh, that's not right. From here, then we look on down to the two RWI teammates. Clay has been really down on himself, saying that it's really undeserved that he's up here in P5, when it doesn't mean that at all. Look at the stats. The stats speak for themselves. Same thing with NASCAR Extreme. I'm just looking at both of them just at the same time, so I'm going to highlight that as well as Clay. Apart from Talladega, which is always a crapshoot, so 9 and P12, top 10, top 10s, top 10 in a top 5, and then a top 10. Charlotte, yes, was one of his weaker races, but he himself says that he was fighting some bad handling conditions. I don't know if he chose the wrong preset, if he was too tight, too loose. I didn't go into specifics. However, it just was bad. It was just bad handling. So because of that, we have the Monday big shift. Heron, Loho, BD, all up here right now in the points battle. BD, I'm hearing may go into full-time status, but we will see going into the rest of the season. But BD, of course, winning on Saturday and then getting a top 5 this season. He's solid. But because of Atlanta, he's not up here amongst the pack for the rest of the time. So Watkins Glen, essentially what I'm looking at, Cyber can effectively have the point deficit. And honestly, that just shows that every race matters. Depending on where you finish at Dega, it really can determine where you are in the rest of the season. So the first race is just as important as the last. So because of that, it seems to me that Cyber has the upper hand when it comes to Watkins Glen. However, we will see, because this is the first time that Xfinity has gone to Watkins Glen. What can they do? I mean, we've been to Mid-Ohio and the Charlotte Roval, but now this is the first time here. What can any of these guys do all the way down the rest of the pack? Tyrese, can he make a comeback? I hope so, because I know he is fast. He can definitely work his way up here, but we will have to see the rest of the field, even on Sunday as well. So we have our favorites on both days, but who can actually go out and get the job done? Who can make the least amount of mistakes? Because road courses, I always say that road courses are a true driver's track, because you are in charge of your own destiny. If you make a mistake, if you spin, that's on you. I'm sorry, but road courses are the best and worst places. So I don't know. That is going to be a big thing for these drivers to decide, and that's why I am loving it. So, with that, this has been the lights breakdown for Fastlane, or Fastlane breakdown for lights. This has been Private Patton as your host. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you out on track next week at Watkins Glen. Have a good night, everyone. Peace.